Happy WrestleMania week, everyone, and welcome to another Over and Buried. Today we have the night one and night two predictions for WrestleMania 42 in Las Vegas. So let's get right into it. First match of the night on ESPN2. First hour being broadcast there for free. I think that's a good option for WWE and ESPN. Get some additional eyeballs on the product as well as maybe get some last minute PLE buys there for the ESPN Plus subscription. So I think that's a good call there. But as for the opening contest of the night, it looks like we do get the six-man tag team match between the Usos and LA Knight versus Logan Paul, Austin Theory of Vision, and I Show Speed, or as I like to call this team, Speed Vision. This looks like it's a smart play to have this kick off night one, considering Logan Paul has been in sports media lately. He's been getting into it with Tom Brady, who's a minority owner of the Las Vegas Raiders in that flag football game. I Show Speed being that internationally known streamer. And then we have Jey Uso, who was recently on Netflix representing WWE for the debut of the MLB season, where we had the Yankees versus the Giants. Go Yankees, by the way. Yankees, yeet. Giants, no yeet. So this does make sense from the standpoint of just trying to get those eyeballs on the product, maybe a few last minute pay-per-view buys. But these are two interesting pairings, in my opinion. First, we have LA Knight with the Usos. So I'll explain here that LA Knight is no stranger to Jey Uso specifically. They faced one another at the Last Time Is Now tournament in the semifinals, I believe, where Knight was the victor and moved on to the finals against Gunther. LA Knight and Jey Uso also were part of that fatal four-way match for the World Heavyweight Championship at Clash in Paris. That also involved both Seth Rollins while he was champion and CM Punk. The third point here is that LA Knight has some unfinished business with the bloodline, specifically Roman Reigns and Jimmy Uso. So if you do recall, Jimmy had helped Roman get his foot up on the rope during that match with Knight after Knight delivered a BFT to Roman Reigns at Crown Jewel 2023, where Jimmy's interference ultimately cost Knight the win and becoming the new Universal Undisputed WWE Champion and the guy to dethrone Roman Reigns' historic reign. And if you remember on Raw backstage, we had that segment with the three of them, and we saw the two trailers, the two tractor trailers in the back. The one all the way in the back had the Tongans on it, and the one closest to them had The Rock. So maybe we were foreshadowing here that there could be some potential involvement. I don't know. And they just went toe to toe with the Tongans. So one of those parts just came true. So again, these are just some interesting tidbits that the pairing between the three of them, I don't know if they could be a cohesive unit here. The second pairing, too, when you think of it, you have I Show Speed joining the Vision. Now, Speed was very disinterested at first getting involved in this match. He wanted no part of it. He was ringside, was thrown over the barrier, if you do recall. And Speed then used the brass knuckles on LA Knight. We do get then a promo a couple of weeks later from Speed. He's training with Logan and Theory, and now he's investing in this, right? He's putting in the sweat equity in this match, so he is now heavily involved. So with all of that being said, I feel as though Jey Uso has been hinting at a heel turn here. He's been acting very erratically, especially when Punk has been involved more recently. The Usos also have recently lost the tag team championships to the Vision, and Paul Heyman stated first, in order for them to get power, they need to get those tag titles. So I think Jey is really the wild card here in this match. LA Knight and Jimmy both have been kind of buddy-buddy lately as of recent weeks. And Jimmy sometimes, I feel his character is very go with the flow, very nonchalant, that I think this is going to get him into trouble, even though he doesn't mean any harm by it. So I think this whole buddy-buddy with Knight, I think will lead to some dissension, Maybe by chance, Jimmy, instead of tagging in his own brother Jay, whom they've won nine nine tag titles together, he tags in Knight, and maybe Jay has a problem with that, right? Maybe he gets so angry that he has the chance to maybe get the brass knuckles from Speed or Logan, or maybe he just jumps down from the apron altogether and starts walking up the ramp, leaving both of his partners, one of them being his twin brother, behind. So I think something like that is going to happen, and Speed Vision does capitalize on this and picks up the victory here. Now, there has been some alternative options that I've seen, especially with Braun Breaker. It's been reported that he is medically cleared with his hernia surgery, and Creative could have booked both he and Seth in their match. But I think they are saving that ace up their sleeve for a later date. And in my opinion, that is something that could take place maybe during SummerSlam. Braun and Speed are also no strangers to one another. Speed taking that nasty spear from Breaker at the Royal Rumble. So perhaps we do get Braun getting in the mix here, but I don't think that's going to be necessary, and I think that could spoil Braun's return. Um, so I'm not sure. Uh, we also have to consider that Speed was cursed by Danhausen, so that was to start this whole thing off in the first place, right? So regardless of how we get here, in my opinion, it's going to be the same outcome where Speed Visions wins. Maybe Danhausen gets his WrestleMania moment and tries to curse them, and maybe he ends up cursing the Usos in LA Knight, and that's what transpires with Jay leaving or crashing out, what have you. But I do think Speed Vision gets the win here. Second match on the card during that first hour of WrestleMania Night 1 Saturday, we have the unsanctioned match Drew McIntyre versus Jacob Fatu. And Jacob Fatu was with Jey Uso. He was also on that Netflix MLB season opening night between the Yankees and Giants, so I get why they want to put them on the card too. And when you look at this match, this is one of the more intriguing matchups of the evening, and arguably could be one of the best matches between these two competitors, pound for pound. These two have been going blow for blow with one another for months. Jacob has interfered in the Three Stages of Hell match with Drew and Cody for the WWE title. We've had these two really brawling all throughout the arena. I think they were in Raleigh at that point in time where they threw each other off of that scaffolding to end the show. Um, so yeah, this match is going to be hard hitting. There's probably going to be somebody who's going to be busted open, but I think this could, really steal the show here. But with that being said, give me Jacob Fatu in this match. Seems that Drew McIntyre is going to be taking some time off, so this could be a good way for Jacob Fatu to really get some steam behind him, and WWE could really build him up into, um, that main event player that we had thought that he was going to be since he stepped foot in the WWE. It was my prediction last year that Jacob Fatu was going to be the one challenging Braun Breaker for the World Heavyweight Championship. And man, I was completely wrong, but I could see that happening in the future at some point. But yeah, it's going to be a very hard hitting match. Um, but give me Jacob Fatu in this one. Now, next, let's go to the Women's Tag Team Championship match, Fatal Four Way. Here in this matchup, we do have the team of the Irresistible Forces, the champions, Nia Jax and Lash Legend, versus that team best friends. We have Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss. We do have Lyra and Bailey, and then we do have the Bella Twins. So initially, when this was booked, my initial thought was, hey, this has the Bella Twins written really all over it. these are two Hall of Famers that they could go on a little run with this, kind of tie a bow on their careers once they eventually decide to hang it up and right off into the sunset. They have that last title under their belts. I think I've also seen that they recently signed a deal with WWE. So even more reason to push them maybe a little bit and eventually get some newer talent over as well. But I've also seen that Nikki Bella is still nursing an ankle injury, and because of that, she is a game time decision. So if she is unable to go, what I am hearing is that WWE is going to slate in the Kabuki Warriors into that. And I think that's also why Io hasn't gotten a match yet between her and Asuka because of this Nikki Bella injury. All signs were pointing to Io versus Asuka, which is unfortunate because Io last year was a world champion. But at this point in time, we don't see that. So, with all of that being said, with the injury news being a game time decision, I think the safe choice here, with all of this uncertainty, is to go with the team of Lyra and Bailey going over here. And Bailey getting that WrestleMania moment with Lyra that was taken from her this past year when Becky Lynch had returned. And also keep Charlotte and Alexa going without a title, in my opinion. Honestly, have them feud eventually. Have one of them even go for the women's US title, which I feel as though has never really been featured on really any PLEs. Maybe just once. I can't recall. I don't know. But let's keep Charlotte away from the main event scene right now. She's probably even more liked right now than she's ever been. Just with the evolution of her character, and it shows that she's having fun with being paired with Alexa. So keep the two of them away there. But Lash, you could also have her break away from Naya. Lash Legend, you could also put in that US title picture eventually. Or maybe they even shoot her up the card to that main event title scene. So I don't know. But yeah, just due to all of the uncertainty, I'm going to have to go with Bailey and Lyra here. Next, we have the Women's Intercontinental Championship match between AJ Lee and Becky Lynch. This one was tough for me at first. I was a bit confused, as to why we had AJ Lee win the title before WrestleMania. So that left us with two options. One, she loses to Becky Lynch at WrestleMania, or two, we have her lose maybe Monday night after WrestleMania. And that's because simply AJ Lee is a part timer. She was back for a couple appearances, and she was gone from TV for quite some time. And in my opinion, AJ lost some momentum there as a result of that. So would love to see, AJ win at Mania. And I'm really holding out for Paige to come back to the WWE, maybe the Raw after WrestleMania, and take the title from AJ, just like she did back in 2014. So history repeating itself. She comes to the main roster and takes the Divas Championship away from AJ, but this time it's the Women's Intercontinental Championship. Um, if that not be the case, there's a strong case to be made for some NXT call ups, such as a JC Jane, a Sol Ruka, potentially have a shining moment at the Raw after WrestleMania, the Raw of the year, really. But as far as the matchup, AJ Lee and Becky Lynch, give me AJ Lee in this one. Next, we have the match between Gunther and Seth Rollins. On paper, this is the best pure wrestling match that we have for WrestleMania Saturday. And despite this being booked in what seems to be a runway of a 2 week time frame, it's arguably one of the more intriguing matchups here, despite really zero build. I believe the original plan was for Seth and Braun. Actually, that might have been the plan B when it was no longer Seth versus Roman, if I'm not mistaken. But Seth versus Braun seemed to be one of the matchups that were talked about quite a bit. And apparently, Braun is cleared, but again, I do think they are saving that matchup. Gunther is providing a favor to Paul Heyman, and Paul Heyman is no stranger to favors here. So I think later down the line we do get Paul returning that favor to Gunther. And in my opinion, that's going to be the Gunther versus Brock match, where Paul kind of gives Gunther a Brock on a silver platter at SummerSlam in Minnesota. Um, Perhaps maybe during this matchup we get some interference from several masked men here, acting as if they are on behalf of Seth Rollins, but Paul Heyman plays these mind games himself, and I think this could distract Seth, and I think Gunther could then maybe choke him out. This also could prolong the Braun Breaker return. We could tease that maybe for Monday Night Raw as well, where Braun Breaker is revealed as a quote unquote masked man, um, to then have his feud with Seth. But as far as the WrestleMania match here, Gunther versus Seth, I think this one also could steal the show, but give me Gunther in this one. Next, we have the Women's World Championship between Stephanie Vicaire and Liv Morgan, the winner of the 2026 Women's Royal Rumble. As of April 2026, five Women's Royal Rumble winners have successfully uh, won in their championship matches at WrestleMania from 2018 to 2024. Or I'm sorry, 2025. In 2018, we had Asuka, who lost to Charlotte Flair. 2019, we had Becky Lynch, who won WrestleMania 35 in that triple threat with Ronda Rousey and Charlotte. 2020, we had Charlotte beat Rhea Ripley at 36. 2021, we had Bianca Belair beat Sasha Banks at 37. Then in 2022, we had Ronda Rousey, who lost to Charlotte Flair. Rhea Ripley in 23 beat Charlotte. Then in 2024, we had Bayley beat Io Sky at WrestleMania 40. And last year, we had Charlotte lose to Tiffany Stratton, who unfortunately is off of this card as well, which I don't understand, as she was champion last year. Do know that the Charlotte Tiffany matchup was not the best, but yeah, justice for Tiffany as well. So 5-3 overall record for women's Royal Rumble winners. Liv has, I think, finished second two times previously in the Royal Rumble prior to her Royal Rumble victory. So I don't think we can deny Liv Morgan here. WWE released that music video with her as well. So I just think that they're gonna put the strap on Liv. Stephanie Vicaire, she has the aura, she has the look. I am pretty pissed that they took away her original entrance music. And Stephanie has really gotten some buzz going around her with that Shove Heard Around the World that got a lot of people talking, where Liv sustained that huge welt, as did Roxanne. But Stephanie just surpassed those 200 days as champion. I do feel as though we need to maybe do a switch up here, maybe breathe some new life into her character. And Liv is just too heavily favored here, so I'm going to have to go Liv Morgan with Stephanie, even though she's the champion, being the underdog here. I'm going to go with Liv to be crowned new women's world champion. Only way that she loses is if we do get some interference from the Judgment Day. So we saw the first domino to fall of the Judgment Day when Finn was kicked out. So Perhaps Raquel or Roxanne could cost Liv this match, but just don't see it happening. So Liv Morgan, new champion. And then the main event of night one, WrestleMania 42, we have Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton for the WWE Championship. Going to go on a little bit of a tangent here, and just wanted to state that the feud that Drew McIntyre and Cody Rhodes had over the WWE Championship was everything that this feud between Cody and Randy was supposed to be. The history between the two, the comeback stories that they both had, Drew getting fired, Cody leaving, building a entirely new company in AEW, and coming back to his original home. Um, Drew coming back to his original home where he was really proclaimed as the chosen one by Vince. Randy also having the career threatening back surgery. Randy coming back from a career threatening injury. But instead, we get celebrity involvement from Pat McAfee and Jelly Roll. That seems to be taking the spotlight away from these two who have, 15 to 20 years of history together. Because how this is played out in the build-up leading into WrestleMania, we now have some sort of validation for the fans that were clamoring for maybe a triple threat with Drew or even a fatal four-way to have Jacob Fatu involved in this as well. But in my opinion, the Drew versus Cody build and feud was everything that the Randy Cody feud should have been. Um, I think I actually had a more enjoyable time doing my taxes this year than watching this feud. Like I said, 15 to 20 years of history between the two. These are two guys from two royal families. And then we do get Pat McAfee, not part of a royal family, and Jelly Roll, who, let's face it, yes, he is putting in the work. Jelly Roll wants to be here in WWE. But that's all we have for this story, WWE creative team. Come on. We could have really taken the ball and run with this. But Cody is going to get booed out of the stadium just like he was last year. Fans in Vegas were wanting to witness number 17 for John Cena, and they definitely want number 15 for Randy this year to become number 3 on the all-time list solely, to pass Triple H on the all-time list as world champion. So we've been waiting for a Randy heel turn as well for so long. And once we all got that, we jumped for joy. It's cool to cheer for the heels these days, these last several years. Even though they might get, all of this heat and everything like that. But the heel turn we all wanted for Randy. And we saw it coming. How many times was he looking at the title, looking at Cody's title during his reigns as champion? But we could have gone in a completely different direction for this. Randy could have gotten nuclear heat in this feud involving Brandy, Mama Rhodes. He could have been, pissing on Dusty's grave, etc. Which is more predictable, but that's what would give Cody the cheers. That's what would we would get behind Cody for. We all can relate when it comes to being there for family and not letting anyone talk poorly about them or going after them. Look at The Rock inserting himself into WrestleMania 40. That was an entire story built on family. But I would rather WWE recycle the family storyline again than to have celebrities being involved in your main event matches that ultimately determine the outcomes of them. When you look at Cena's historic 17th championship win at WrestleMania 41, being crowned officially the number one all time on the list, there is kind of an asterisk next to that because of that Travis Scott interference. Again, with the celebrity, Travis Scott kind of took the spotlight away from the match that Cody and Cena were having. And then we all were speculating if The Rock was going to show up, which he didn't. And it's the same thing here that Randy is positioned to be number three all time, just behind Flair. And this could potentially have an asterisk on it too. Um, but we had Pat McAfee saying he's going to walk away from the business forever if Randy loses. And it looks like they're already teasing a tag team match for Backlash between Cody and Jelly Roll versus Randy and Pat McAfee. So, um, you're telling me that WWE is going to bring in Pat McAfee for 2 to 3 weeks to try to sell a few more tickets, then have him disappear forever right after Mania, um, and go back to ESPN. Where he said, he took a break from WWE because it was tiring to do the college game days, his show, and then the WWE commentary. And then he comes back to WWE right before Mania and says that, he was really born into this business. That didn't really make any sort of sense. But at the end of the day, give me Randy Orton getting his number 15 victory, world title victory. Maybe we do get a punt kick from either Randy or maybe from the punter himself, Pat McAfee, to Cody Rhodes. But I want no involvement from celebrities at the end of the day. I want this to be a 1 versus 1 match. Let Randy go to that place in his 2009 um, persona. Let him go to that dark place. Let the voices go to his head. And if WWE did that triple threat match with Drew McIntyre or the Fatal 4-Way with Jacob Fatu, Drew could have still taken the pin here, could have taken some time off. Randy still could have turned heel against Cody. You still could have had Jacob and Drew brawling week to week. But the convenient thing about the triple threat or the Fatal 4-Way was that we still really don't know who the attacker was on Jacob Fatu that left him in a pool of blood and being out for a few months. So WWE could have threaded along for the past couple of months, compelling cases as to why it could have been all three of these individuals, why it could have been Drew McIntyre, why it could have been a Randy Orton, and even why it could have been a Cody Rhodes, because we're all wanting Cody Rhodes to turn heel at some point as well. But I think that could have been a compelling story to tell as well. But at the end of the day, for this match, the main event for night one, give me Randy Orton over Cody Rhodes as the new WWE champion. All right, let's pivot to night two, Sunday of WrestleMania 42. Again, we have the first hour on ESPN. Two matches. We have Brock Lesnar and Obafemi, probably one of the best builds that we've seen for this entire WrestleMania season. And then we do have the Intercontinental Championship ladder match, which is going to be a spot fest, but it's going to probably steal the show as well. So let's start with Lesnar versus Oba. If you look at Obafemi, he has positioned himself to be the next face of the WWE. Brock has been selling his ass off for Oba, and that is a sign of respect. Brock isn't just going to work with anybody if he doesn't feel like they could be a somebody in this business. Brock has, not wanted to work with, like, let's say, Stone Cold Steve Austin. And we never got that match, so he's just not going to job for anybody, or he's just not going to sell for anybody. But he's really been selling. Look at his facials when he was clotheslined outside of the ring and he was up against the barrier, and his facials said everything there. That was I believe the second or third time that Oba had the upper hand at that point in time during their feud build up. But looking at recent history, Brock Lesnar just squashed John Cena not too long ago at WrestlePalooza. So this match is undoubtedly going to get Obafemi more over than he already is, but I don't think he goes over here. And let me tell you why. I'm looking at it from the lens here of what do we do after WrestleMania. So I got to thinking, why would Brock lose to Oba? Then if he does retire at SummerSlam in Minneapolis, if that is the plan, that WWE puts Brock Lesnar versus Gunther, why would they have Brock Lesnar lose two back-to-back matches? It would take away from Gunther's victory against Brock if that is the plan ultimately, and his ability to be the career killer, and almost diminish the victory that Brock Lesnar had over Cena, and you know, versus Gunther during Cena's last match, where that was drawn out, and kind of Cena and Gunther took each other to the limit there. So again, I just don't see Lesnar losing back to back matches. I think Oba does get his WrestleMania moment here. I feel as though this could be an emotional loss, and that's going to draw the fans in to gravitate towards Obafemi even more. Look at Cody Rhodes losing at WrestleMania 39. Look at Cena losing at WrestleMania 28. The two of them sitting on the ramp, very emotional. But maybe even, Brock gets a freak victory, but, we do get Oba standing tall at the end of the segment there. But I just think that, but I just don't see Brock losing two big matches this year, especially if he is riding off into the sunset. Um, if the plan is for SummerSlam, we could even have Brock get a quick victory here, and then we could draw their feud out for a trilogy. We could have them go 1v1 again during Backlash in Tampa. Maybe Oba can get the victory there. And, maybe if Gunther isn't the route for Minneapolis, then maybe we have Brock face Oba during SummerSlam. And Oba is the guy to retire Brock Lesnar. And maybe after that, we can get a Gunther versus Oba match. Who knows? But yeah, Oba, he's positioned himself to be a new face of WWE. When he power bombed Lesnar, that was crazy. When he stood on his chest, that was a moment. And then that following week when we had him strutting to the ring, and we saw all those camera shots of all of those kids doing the strut as well in the crowd. Um, he is over. So I don't think a loss is really going to affect him. I think it's only going to push him even further. So I'm going to be a wild card here. Give me Lesnar in this one. And then we have the ladder match here. We have the six pack ladder match. We have JD McDonough. We have the champion Penta. We have Javon Evans, Dragon Lee, Rusev, and the returning Rey Mysterio, who was reported to initially be fighting Gunther in a singles match there. But in this match, I would actually be happy for anyone really winning this match, even JD, surprisingly. Because when you look at it, the Judgment Day was all about, oh, listen to Finn and you'll win. And now that Finn Balor is out of the Judgment Day, maybe we have a career-defining moment for JD. Maybe, Judgment Day could continue their momentum if WWE isn't going to break them up anytime soon. But WWE really has spent all of this time investing into Penta, building him up. He has really been chasing that IC title really since his debut, I feel like, in WWE. So I just feel like they've invested way too much into him to have him lose now. So do believe that Penta gets his WrestleMania moment. We do have him retain in the ladder match. And coming out of it, maybe we do get a triple threat match at Backlash, Penta versus Rey versus Dragon Lee. Maybe we even have that Intercontinental Championship match on a AAA pay-per-view. So, but yeah, I think this has um, really, regardless of who comes out as the winner, um, I don't think fans are going to be upset. But give me Penta to retain his title. Next on the card, we have Sami Zayn versus Trick Williams. This, in my opinion, needs to be a double turn here during this match. Trick is super over. He's put himself really in the mix for even main event type type caliber matches. He's involved himself with Randy Orton, with Drew McIntyre on SmackDown. And Sammy, I feel like, has been crashing out these past couple of weeks backstage, that a heel turn for him really is inevitable. Um, and what do we have left for Sammy currently as a face? I think the well has run a little bit dry there. So I am a bit bummed that Mello is not part of this match, that we don't get a triple threat match, considering all of the work that he's put in. This would have been a great triple threat match, and we could have gotten the Trick versus Mello matchup coming out of it. But yeah, in this one, give me Trick Williams and his Lemon Peppa Steppas. I do think that they're going to strap the rocket to Trick, and this is just the first stepping stone in that. So, yeah, double heel or double turn here. Give me Trick becoming the face that he is, Sammy being the heel, and new champion in Trick Williams. Next match, we have the Women's WWE Championship match between Rhea Ripley and Jade Cargill. For me, I don't understand why we have Jade aligning herself with BFAB and Michin, then just to lose to Rhea a few weeks later. Then, what power does Jade Cargill have if, she has these followers that she then loses her big match, several weeks later? So why even stay aligned with her if she loses? Um, Also, another interesting point: could Io turn on Rhea in this match? Could that also be why Io isn't featured on the card? Because WWE has some plans for her elsewhere, maybe in this interference type of scenario. Um, but I just think we can have some more intrigue after WrestleMania if we do get Io kind of turning on Rhea. And I have said before that I feel as though Rhea is synonymous with the World Championship, right? And I believe this championship in particular is the only main event title that she hasn't won. So I like that WWE has had her away from the main event scene for some time to get us to miss that, miss that feeling to have her on top. So I think they need to draw this out a little bit more. And, I'm going to predict that we have Jade retaining here. We also could potentially have Bianca returning post match to confront a Jade Cargill. And I don't know about Naomi's time frame to return, but would love to even see maybe Naomi comes back. But I'm not sure what the likelihood of that is. But eventually, yeah, let's get a triple threat match for a world title between Jade, Bianca, and Naomi. I think that is a money match in itself right there. But yeah, I'm gonna go against the grain here on this one as well. I'm gonna take Jade over Rhea. Next match, we have the Demon Finn Balor versus Dominic Mysterio. Um, Actually, the Demon Finn Balor character's record on the main roster is a total of 6-2, with these two losses being from both Roman Reigns. I believe that was the Extreme Rules pay-per-view where the turnbuckle fell off, and also we had the Demon lose to Edge at WrestleMania 39 during that Hell in the Cell match. But you don't have the demon character lose back to back now. I believe the last time he won as the demon, um, or at least won as the demon at WrestleMania, at least was WrestleMania 35 that I was at. But you just don't have the demon lose here. You don't have all the tease from Finn Balor to then, have kind of WWE social media kind of spoil that post Raw, with the match graphic where we saw Finn with the demon paint on. Finn's character would be buried if he loses here. We might as well have him go back to that smiling Finn Balor character should he lose, but I don't see that happening. So give me Demon Finn Balor here in this one. And finally, we have the main event of all of WrestleMania Sunday, CM Punk as the World Heavyweight Champion versus Roman Reigns. And as of today, it is 737 days since Roman Reigns has held gold. Now let that sink in. His historic reign as WWE Undisputed Universal Champion was for 1,316 days. So that's after 3 to 4 years of having the title. Now it's been over half of that time that he's been removed from having a world title. For a guy to have what will be his 11th main event at WrestleMania, you don't have him away from the title for that long and then have him lose in the main event of the entire show. So I'm going to say Roman Reigns beats CM Punk, becomes the new World Heavyweight Championship, but I don't think that this is going to be a clean victory. Perhaps maybe we get the Usos interfere. Maybe it's The Rock that comes back. I'm not trying to get my hopes up, but keep going back to that well, especially if the current plan for WrestleMania 43 is to remain in Saudi Arabia, then Saudi is going to want WWE to pull out all of the stops. So that would mean that we need to get to a main event of Rock versus Roman, and I would think a Punk versus Cody match as the other main event for 43. So in my opinion, let's have Roman Reigns as new World Heavyweight Champion. But there's got to be some interference. Maybe Jay even costs Roman in the event that Roman actually loses. But I'm not sure. I just don't see that happening. So let's just go with Roman Reigns here. So there you have it, guys. Let me know what match you are looking most forward to. Where did I go wrong? Let me know of your predictions. And I hope everyone has an amazing WrestleMania weekend, whether you're in Vegas, whether you're watching at home or at a watch party. Hope everyone enjoys the weekend and can't wait to get back to the next one. Thank you all for the support. Feel free to leave a comment, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one.
There's no middle ground. Go over or get buried. Six feet, feet down. Go over or get buried. There's no middle ground. Go over or get buried. 6 feet down. Over and buried. Over and buried. Over and buried.